Hi, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here this afternoon for a chat with Nicky from the Van Mystic and the Star Seeker Tarot. Nicky is a fabulously creative and talented um, artist, for lack of a better word, who is the creator of, this fabulous Star Seeker Tarot. She has a couple of spread books. She also has a beautiful spread cloth and on top of that, a really fabulous oracle deck that is currently unnamed but is in the works. So I'm just waiting for Nicky to pop on and then we can start our chat. I've laid out the entire Starseeker Tarot so that I can quick reference find out more from Nicky about her creative process and what goes into making decks like this one. Are you all familiar with Nicky's work? Oh, Nicky's here! Yay! I am going to, yay. So I'll just wait a minute here. For those of you that just, oh, hi, Nicky, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to officially meet you, or as close
Yeah,
as
right?
possible to
Face to
that now.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. This is so
Yeah.
exciting.
Thanks for
Um,
having
I
me.
Oh, yeah, it's an honor. I'm such a huge fan of your deck. It's like top of my list. This
Thank you
is
so
like,
much.
oh, my all-time favorite aesthetic. It's gorgeous. Yeah, so for
Wow,
anyone
thank
who just
you.
joined, this is Nikki from the Van Mystic, and we're going to chat about her gorgeous Star Seeker Tarot.
Yeah.
Um, so the first question I wanted to ask you actually was about your account name, the Van Mystic.
Oh gosh,
I
yeah.
know, I'd love to hear. I know you did some van travels with your partner. We
Yeah.
did as well actually with our kids for
Oh,
almost
cool.
2 years. Yeah.
Amazing. 2 years. Wow.
Yeah, just about. I think it was about 20 months all in. Um,
Awesome. So
yeah,
fun.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it really is. How did that come about for you?
Yeah, so let's see. I met my partner, my now husband, in 2016. I had moved from New York to California for a job in fashion design.
Nice.
And after a year of being there, I kind of hit that wall where I was like, okay, I've been doing this for, 10 years almost, and I feel like I'm burning out. I love being creative, but I don't know if this is for me anymore.
Yeah.
So, we both kind of quit our jobs, bought a van, fixed it up, and thought, let's just do this. Like, we don't have kids, we don't have any like big commitments. Not that you can't do it when you're with kids, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah.
we don't have anything tying us down, so why not just do this? So we traveled for maybe about a year in the van, and that's when I started the Van Mystic. And I started the account and I started doing tarot readings. And I'd already been doing readings and stuff like that for friends and family and whatever, but that's when my page was born. So we don't live in the van anymore. We actually don't even have the van anymore, but I feel like still so attached to the name. So
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's such a
the
part of your
origins.
journey as a reader, right? And that's
Yeah,
huge. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that so
totally.
much. Yeah, for us, it happened at a crossroads as well because my husband finished a
Yeah.
PhD in archaeology and
Oh,
realized there was no
wow.
work
Cool.
available in his field.
Wow.
And we were kind of like, oh, okay, we have three kids, and what do we do now? So we moved
Yeah.
cross country from Newfoundland to Victoria, BC.
Wow.
And he was working in landscaping, but had a shoulder injury, and it just wasn't what he wanted to be doing. We were kind of spinning our heels. So he was actually the
Yeah.
one that came up with the idea. We were originally thinking about redoing like an old bus or something like that,
Yeah,
but we
sure.
both finished absolutely gutting our condo from top to bottom and doing all of that work ourselves and basically
Oh my
lived in a
gosh.
construction zone for like a
Yeah.
year. And I was like, I just
Yeah.
can't. And he was like, I
Yeah.
just can't. So we got an RV and sold like
Yeah.
most of what we owned. Everything was consolidated into like 200 square feet.
Yeah.
Packed up
Amazing.
the kids in our truck and
Yeah.
and traveled. And along that journey, he ended up getting into web development and he's now a web designer.
That's so
And
cool.
it kind of took us to places we couldn't even have imagined, but we wouldn't
Yeah.
have gotten there if we hadn't done that. And we
Yeah.
had wonderful experiences traveling with our kids. We found our pup along the way. Like it was just a
That's so
whole
cool. You found
experience.
your
Yeah.
dog? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we found him in Ontario when Dominic was doing his
Wow.
training. It was lovely.
How
Yeah.
old how old were your kids when you did this?
Let's see. It was 2016 when we left.
Uh-huh.
So Eloise was 10, no, 9. Adele was 8, and Armand was 5 at that point.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
so they had
So
some
cool.
special birthdays along the way. Like one of them, we were in San Francisco with Adele, and then me in the following year because she happened to have
Whoa,
some birthdays. So
that's
yeah,
so
it was
cool.
pretty memorable, and it's been
They
amazing
must
to
have
see what.
loved it.
Oh my gosh, and it's
Yeah.
amazing to see how much of it they remember because they were little,
Oh,
right?
cool.
And
Yeah,
we had
totally. Like, I feel
like,
like I don't
yeah,
remember anything from that
yeah.
age.
Oh, I know. I have
Yeah.
these like little snippets, but it's all blurry. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we moved to Halifax and sold our truck, sold our RV, and haven't owned a car in several years. We went from
Oh,
full on
really?
car to no cars. So
Yeah. Yeah.
now we're in a small town. It's been like lots of change, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I can see
Yeah.
why you picked the name because that's such a part of that journey. Like that
Yeah.
RV travel will always be part of our experience as a family, and there's something
Yeah,
really special
totally.
about that.
Yeah, and it was
And I
definitely
feel like,
like that transitional time, like that pivotal
yeah,
time where, we got to kind of separate ourselves from normal life and think about
yeah.
what we really wanted and kind of have this
Mhm.
sense of freedom that we didn't have before. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like sometimes it takes getting out of that comfort zone to get that kind of clarity on what it is that
Hmm.
you're doing, you know? Like,
Totally.
yeah,
Yes.
it's amazing. And you're in
Yeah.
California now, right?
Yeah, we're in California now.
Oh,
So
lovely.
after we
Yeah.
finished our van travels, we landed in Taos, New Mexico, which also wouldn't have happened if we hadn't traveled in
Oh,
the van
yeah.
because it was so not on our radar
Yeah.
whatsoever. So we did
Yeah.
the Earth ship life for a year
Oh,
and then
amazing.
we came back here. Yeah. So
Oh,
we've
that's
been
wonderful.
back for maybe a couple of years now.
Yeah, same with us.
Yeah.
We landed
Yeah.
here 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
New Mexico was one of our favorite stops, actually. Pacific
Yeah.
Northwest of New Mexico. It's a beautiful part of the world. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it. I
Me
had no
neither.
expectations, and then I got there, and I was just like, oh my God, it's
Yeah,
so
we fell
beautiful.
in
Like
love.
everything is just,
It's
yeah,
yeah, it's so
yeah.
beautiful. The energy is so powerful there. It's like just
Mhm.
we really fell in love with New Mexico.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
gorgeous, gorgeous spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, that's amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
so curious to know too. So you've been reading for a while. How did the Star Seeker Tarot come into being? Because you illustrated and wrote the guidebook and did all of
Hmm.
it yourself, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you're a
Yeah.
designer, so that makes sense that you would have the
Yeah.
experience already. But um,
Yeah.
oh, that's amazing. So yeah, what? How did the deck come into being?
Yeah, I guess it wasn't really something that I had planned on doing. After we finished traveling in the van and we landed in New Mexico, we were sort of like staying in an Airbnb for a little while in the colder weather, like in the interim, trying to find a place to settle down. And a friend of mine kept asking me like, are you going to make a deck, are you going to make a deck, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like I don't want to make a deck. That sounds like so much work. Like it's not on my radar. Like, but obviously my background is in design. I mean, I design more like product footwear and bags and things like that, but yeah. And but Photoshop and Illustrator, these programs are something that I'm super familiar with and I love being creative. So I guess I got into my head, she's like, are you going to do this? And I'm like, why do you keep asking me? And then once we landed, I was kind of like, well, I guess I'll just start working on it, for myself. Like, this is
Yeah.
something that I can do, like, for my own creative growth and for my own joy. And like, we're kind of settling down. So it feels a little easier to be working on a project like this. And so I just started drawing, and I changed mediums a few times. I think that kind of happens, right? Like I started doing pencil drawings, and then tried some gouache, tried colored pencils, and then I eventually went digital and started doing kind of like this digital collage thing. So
Yeah.
um, that's kind of how it happened. It just sort of unfolded from there. So throughout our time in New Mexico, I worked on all of the cards, and I think I launched the Kickstarter after we had moved to California. So
Nice. Well,
yeah,
I love that it was such an organic process. Like, I feel like anything, I don't know about you, but anything that I've done that's ever been successful kind of happened not because I set it out as the goal, but because it just kind of evolved that way and it developed
yeah,
over time. And it was something that I started mostly for myself. Like, that's true with this tarot account too. I
yeah,
started it for me and then now it's evolving into other things and it's super exciting. But
yeah,
it probably never would if I started from day one saying, okay, this is going to be my business and I'm going to do this and this and this. Like,
totally. Yeah,
there's like
yeah,
years that comes with easing into this process, and I
yeah,
think a lot of letting go that comes with creation, right?
yeah.
Which,
I think that's so
yeah, it's
true.
really magical.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
think
amazing.
the best work that I've ever done have been the things that I did for me, the things that I did for joy, and then it ended up resonating with other people. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that I was like, I'm going to do this and here's my plan and here's my financials and, you know, it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. And of course, it's normal to think about and worry about and, you know, plan those things too. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you let go of control, it's kind of like that's when the good stuff happens.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's so terrifying to do that, just speaking from personal experience, and yet
Yeah.
it's a necessary part of that process, I feel. Like
Yeah.
it's like I feel like if I were ever to do something like that, I would need to start creating it and then figure out the rest of the stuff once I was far enough along that I didn't get overwhelmed by the thought of all of that, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Because
yeah,
otherwise, you have this looming over you, like this deadline, you know?
all the pressure, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
absolutely love the aesthetic. I've laid out all the cards in majors and different suits for quick reference, but I just adore the style that you have for
Thank
this
you so
deck, the
much.
color palette and the tones and how everything is layered together. And it speaks to me on such a visceral level in all of
Thank
these
you.
colors. Even the back, it's just gorgeous. Like this, the approach that you took, it just like as soon as I saw the images on Instagram, I was just like, okay, yeah, that I'm done. Like, just tell me when because this is incredible. Um,
Thank
and I'd love
you.
to know. Okay,
Yes.
so and the other thing I wanted to say is this guidebook is worth its
Hmm.
weight in gold. Like, I
Oh
swear,
gosh, thank
the way
you.
that you've written about all of the cards, like, I love
Oh.
reading guidebooks because the art is beautiful. And part of the reason that I'm drawn to tarot is because it's art appreciation, and that really draws me. But the
Hmm.
other thing I love is when you have a guidebook and you can get insights into what the creator thought about each of the
Mm.
cards. And what I love about this deck, I bought it for a friend as her first ever tarot deck because
Oh,
I felt like
cool.
it was
I
such
love
a
that.
great, yeah, it was such a great entry point because
Yeah.
it gives you honest messages, but it's also very a very nurturing deck and very
Hmm.
gentle. Like,
Hmm.
I tend to struggle with the Nine of Swords sometimes, doesn't
Hmm.
everybody?
Yes.
Because that's my general state of being. I deal with anxiety and all of that. And I
Sure.
just remember reading your entry for the Nine of Swords, and it just opened up my understanding of that card in really beautiful and nurturing, non-avoidant ways. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
Some cards can just
absolutely.
set up, and it seems like such a hurdle. So I just wanted to say, for anyone who hasn't looked at the deck or the guidebook, it's phenomenal, and I appreciate your words so much. What was
Thank
the process
you.
like? Like, because I know designing the cards is one thing, but what about when it came to writing about each of the cards? Like, which
Yeah.
process did you find easier? Did it happen together? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, you know, I remember sort of like growing up and being a student like in middle school and high school and things like that, and always being kind of criticized for my writing style. And so
Yeah.
I always thought that I wasn't a good writer, and I really like carried that with me into adulthood of
Mhm.
feeling like I've always been a storyteller and I've always loved that. I've always been good at conveying stories or, you know, painting a picture, but when it came to writing in the way that I was supposed to write, I was definitely challenged. And so when I started my page, The Van Mystic, and I started doing readings, you know, and again, I did it for me, right? I started my page for me, and I just thought this is a place where I can just write from my spirit and my soul and like let it come out without any pressure, outside expectation, you know, on top of me, which is what I'd been kind of like you know, I felt nervous about it. I felt nervous about
Yeah.
writing after feeling like I'm a bad writer, right? And then I quickly realized that so many people were like resonating with my words and that I was actually really good at it. I just didn't fit into the
Mhm.
box that I was told that I had to fit into. So writing actually comes really naturally to me in the style that I like to write.
Yeah.
And so writing the guidebook myself was like a really important thing to me and kind of just you know, getting to tell a little bit of the, you know, the way the guidebook is broken up for the Star Seeker is that, you know, there's like a little bit of a story of like what's going on because, you know, I'm sort of painting a picture in the story behind the
Mhm.
card, and then it breaks it down into a description of what that means, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I love that approach so much because it pulls you into the imagery that you're looking at in a really beautiful and cohesive way, and then you add the interpretation level and layer, and it just it's allowed me to connect with these cards in a really deep and really special and meaningful way, and I appreciate your writing so
Thank you
much.
so much. Yeah.
I homeschool my kids, and I have from the
Yeah.
get-go, and it's been really interesting because we've moved away from a lot of the shoulds for school. Like, we still focus
Hmm.
on grammar, we still focus on math, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to find ways of doing that for my kids so they don't get stuck in that rut like I
Yeah,
was for
totally.
years. that I
Yeah.
was terrible at math, that I couldn't do
Right.
art because I got like a
Exactly.
C in my grade 11 art class, right? And
Right. You
it's been
carry these
therapeutic.
things.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
definitely.
therapeutic sketching again. Like I just came up with a
Yeah.
tattoo design for myself, and my logo that's on my account now is something I
Yeah.
drew. And it's so liberating when you reframe your relationship with these mediums that were problematic through school, because it's
Yeah.
one system and it's one approach. And if you don't
Yeah.
fit into that box,
Yeah.
it becomes really restrictive and really hard. And some of you end up carrying with you. Like I'm
Exactly.
42 and I'm just letting go of that
Right,
now, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's
It's just
crazy.
like it just really throws things and it doesn't need
Yes.
to. Like this
Yeah.
year for my girls, my eldest is already working on book projects and she's really into graphic design and she's doing all
Hmm.
this stuff and so she's excited about it. I got this short story module. So the girls are working on all their language arts skills, but
Yeah.
it's through the process of writing short stories.
Hmm.
And Eloise is into ancestry stuff, but Adele wanted to look at the history of our house. So she's
Yeah.
going to be writing short stories about that. And I found
Yeah.
her a ghost story about Amherst, Nova Scotia and the resident poltergeist. And that's going to be the basis of her writing. It's
Right.
also
So
finding that
cool.
thing that lights you up, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah,
Like we are
yeah,
all probably good at everything if we're just
oh, yeah,
approaching it in the right way that works for us, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like finding that connection point that lights you up and gets
Yeah.
you through the difficult part of something that you don't feel as connected to or don't think that you can do, you know? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, super
definitely.
awesome.
That's cool.
That's amazing. So did you have a favorite card or a favorite suit when you were working on the deck?
Hmm. I think I always am kind of attracted to the wand suit personally. I don't think that I favored one or the other in creating the deck, but I'm always happy to get a wands card because I like things to be exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, the
Maybe.
wands can also be a little bit chaotic sometimes, um, but I love the wands probably if I had to pick.
Awesome. Have a favorite major arcana from this particular deck or in general?
Hmm. It's
It's hard to
always
pick a favorite.
changing.
They're all
It's hard.
great. Yeah.
That's the thing,
Like,
it's always changing. My answer has not remained the same like over the last several years. Like I can't really say it's been the same. It probably depends on what's going on in my life at that moment, right?
yeah,
Like I love the star if I need healing. I
yeah,
love the hermit if I need introspection time, if I'm in
yeah,
a period of my life where I'm going within, right? Then I'm like sort of more
yeah,
attracted to these cards than other times. So I wonder what it is for
yeah.
me right now. Maybe the Empress.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes so much sense. And you have such a beautiful Empress card in this deck too.
Thank you.
The colors and tones and everything. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say that about the Hermit because that wasn't a card that I really felt all that attached to, and then
Hmm.
COVID hit, and it was actually my card of the
Mm.
year. And now I have a
Ooh.
deep personal relationship with this,
Yes.
and I feel really connected, and
Yeah.
the energy of it has really helped support me through that time. And it's amazing to me how different cards in the major and minor arcana can carry you through different periods of your life where you
Hmm.
form a deeper connection or attachment, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I first started reading tarot, there was all the classic cards that
Hmm.
I found difficult, like the Death
Yeah.
card, and the Devil card, and the
Definitely.
Tower, and like the 3, 9, and 10 of Swords. And through the
Yeah.
course of my practice, I've come to love and appreciate all of those cards so much.
Yeah.
And when they come up, it's a tool for healing and it's a
Yeah.
tool for evolution. It's not there to scare me or to be a
Yeah.
harbinger of doom or any of that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
so
Yeah.
interesting. Such a
Yeah.
great tool for healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely found that too.
Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
that's wonderful.
Hmm.
So, were there any cards that you found particularly challenging when you approached the deck?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'd say definitely probably the classic things that you think are going to be a little bit challenging, right? Like
Yeah.
one of the things that I really experienced and I've spoken about before about creating this deck is that I was so energetically entwined with the creation process of this deck that I felt as if I was walking through the experiences and the energy of each card as I was creating it. So you can imagine that it was a bit of a roller coaster ride at times, right? And I was
Yeah.
also again like in a transitional period of my life where I'm like kind of growing this community, building this business, working on this deck and wondering what's going to happen next, and so
Yeah.
there was a lot of uncertainty. And, when you're so like attached to your creation, like at a soul level, like things like the tower, that was definitely
Yeah.
a challenging card to work
Yeah.
through. and it's not that the artwork was challenging, it's that the energy of it was challenging, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, but
No,
again, like every card, yeah. So every card that has a challenge, it's really just a lesson. I truly look at things like that. And so when you talk about like, you know, that I take sort of like an honest but gentle approach, that's kind of how I
Mhm.
approach readings. That's how I approach tarot. That's how I approach the deck, because um I don't want people to feel scared by these cards because they're inevitable. We
Yeah.
all live and breathe the tarot. They are
Mhm.
all like within us and throughout our lives, and so they're not something to be avoided. It's something to be looked at, and we can feel fear, and we can, um, you know, like certain energy more than others. But there's a reason behind it all, and there's a lesson behind it all, and there's always going to be an up after we have a down. So yeah.
Yeah, I love everything that you just said. That makes so much sense to me. It's very much how I approach readings
Yeah.
for myself and others too, because
Yeah.
there's no sense in there's going to be cards that trigger different emotions, but it's there to help you heal and to help you grow. And
Yeah.
there's a nurturing energy, and no one card is either good or bad. There's
Hmm.
multifaceted to every single one of them,
Yeah.
and there's always a tool to grow. So now when I see the Tower card, yeah, it makes me a little uncomfortable, but I'm also grateful for it because it's showing
Yeah.
me that something in my life needs to be broken down and
Yeah.
moved away to make
Right.
space for something else to enter, right?
Right, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially say you're approaching the deck and you have some discomfort in your heart, or you have some heaviness like on your soul, and then you pull the Tower card. It's like, well, there's your answer, right? Like getting
Yeah.
a light, fluffy card is not what you need right now. It's not
Yeah.
going to make your feelings go away, right? So
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of, you know, just being honest with yourself and what you really need, right?
Yeah. I know sometimes I'll come to a reading and I'll pull that Nine of Swords, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling really anxious right
Yeah.
now. This is
Right.
something I need to focus on, and it's an invitation
Hmm.
to give myself the self-care that I need. It's like
Yeah,
that permission slip, right? And
exactly.
sometimes it's important because when you're so mired in your own feelings and
Hmm.
emotions, you don't have the distance to be able to say, oh, this is what is I am experiencing right now.
Yeah.
This is my reality,
Yeah.
and I can find a way through it, or I
Yeah.
can look for the support I need, or I can reach out to someone. Like it's like an
Yeah.
external invitation to do that thing you need to do, right? Which is
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
magical. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Yeah.
Um, so, and you also have this beautiful extra 20-second card in the Major Arcana, the Womb
Hmm.
card.
Yeah.
I've pulled this card many times, and it's always when I need the energy of it so
Yeah.
much. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So what was the process of creating this card like, and what was your intention with it?
Yeah, it's interesting because from what I remember, I was trying to work on the judgment card, and then I
Uh,
ended up with this, and I was like,
mhm,
it's kind of judgment, or I'm sorry, not the
mhm.
judgment card. Yeah, it was the judgment card, because I
Yeah,
was like, it's kind of judgment in the way of like transformation, but judgment is more like hard hitting than this, you know? It's a
mhm,
little bit more like the fire's lit, like it's time
yeah,
to burn it away, it's time to
yeah,
transform. And this felt a little bit more like, no, it's not time to move yet, but it's time to kind
mhm,
of sit back and receive and let yourself feel full and feel whole and feel held before you
mhm,
step into a moment of transformation.
mhm.
So I decided to add it as an extra card because I felt like that's a valuable message for people. And I see people pull that
Mhm.
card all the time. Like it's funny, you know, just kind of like observing from the outside on Instagram and YouTube and whatever. A lot of people pull like some of the same cards over and over. And that's one of the one I see
Yeah,
a lot of people pull. So,
yeah. Well,
mhm.
it's got such a beautiful, nurturing energy to it. Like whenever I pull this card, I just feel held and protected and safe, and it's like that
Mhm.
permission, much like the Hermit, but in an even more nurturing way to go
Yeah.
inward and
Yeah.
to reflect. And it's like the creation of that safe space that envelops you, which is so powerful and so needed and wonderful. Yeah, it's so interesting with cards. They get
Mhm.
kind of a bad rap with like stalker cards. I prefer
Right.
to look at it as like a repeat card,
Yeah.
because there's some that come up for me on a regular basis. Like I do a lot of card pulls during the day, and it's fascinating to see how many will come up repeatedly. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
no, you really need to pay attention. No, that Seven
Yeah.
of Wands is coming up again because you need to pay
Yeah.
attention to it.
Like you're still
And
not
it's,
getting it.
yeah, you're not getting it. Come
Yeah.
on,
Come
you
on.
keep
Yeah.
getting the same
This
thing
is
over and over
important.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's so funny.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
yeah. Oh my,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Yeah, because I just came up with a repeat spread actually a couple of months ago to
Oh,
try
really?
and deal with that because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so it's got the repeat card and then some queries to try and unpack it. And I was
Yeah.
just thinking this morning, like that Seven of Wands keeps coming up, and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm pretty sure I know what this is here for, but it would be
Hmm.
nice to kind of unpack this a little more. So,
Totally. Yeah. Like, what are the layers behind this?
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
And speaking of spreads, you have some phenomenal spread books as well that are available digitally on your Etsy. I
Yeah,
have
I
both of
do.
them actually. It's the Star Seeker book of 15 spreads, and then the Tarot spreads for living your best life, and that one
Hmm.
I think has 20.
Yeah.
Um, Both of them are absolutely phenomenal, and I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate everything that you put into it because there's something for every different aspect of your experience. And
Hmm.
I know I was having a really hard time with some family stuff, and I pulled out the relationship healing spread that you have
Hmm.
in the tarot for living your best life.
Hmm.
And I can't tell you how amazing and nurturing and healing that whole
That's
process was.
awesome.
There's something about laying out all the cards and like you said, there's a storytelling aspect to
Hmm.
the tarot. And you were saying that about your writing, but I think that's true for tarot too. It's not just
Yeah.
a single card. It can be,
Hmm.
but it's
Hmm.
also building how the cards work together in relationship.
Hmm.
And I often
Definitely.
say to my husband, because he's not a tarot person at all, I mean, he
Yeah.
respects that I do this, and he's actually picked up a lot over the last few years.
That's
He thinks
awesome.
it's
Yeah.
irrational, but
Yeah.
like I said to him, like there's 78 cards in this deck. I could pull any single one of them
Yeah.
and use it as a funnel to make sense of where my life is at right now. Like it's not like
Hmm.
one perfect card, although sometimes that perfect card comes up, and I'm like, really, like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's so powerful when you have those spread resources like that to be able to lay everything out
Hmm.
and see it all together. So what was the process like with building those books?
Yeah, so I want to say the tarot spreads for living your best life, that was like one of the first things that I sort of like offered to the community in my shop.
Mhm.
And I'd been doing spreads up until then, and I just really enjoy doing them because I feel like they come from me, like they come from my life, they come from everyday things that I come up against and I need to work through that I know other people will relate to. So I
Mhm.
think that's been kind of like my main focus with offering these spreads and trying to put them out into the world, is like not
Mhm.
making them too overly complicated or abstract or unrelatable, but rather just kind of being like, these are the things that I feel like we come up against as humans and as souls on this planet, that sometimes we just need a little extra help with. So I always try to make them sort of like, sort of simple, but yeah, you know.
Yeah. No, but it I love the simplicity of the spreads because
Hmm.
everything is very clear, but it gives you that invitation to dive a little deeper
Yeah,
for how that particular area or focus
yeah,
relates to your life at a particular point in time. I
yeah,
think you had one that was like brain muddled or something like that, and I was
yeah.
thinking, oh my God,
Mhm.
yeah, I love that idea because so often like, you can get stuck in your head and you can't see
Yeah,
forest the trees, right? But like
yeah,
being laid out in clarity is so helpful.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
super
So
great.
I've really
Yeah.
enjoyed doing those a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. You just posted one a couple days ago
Yeah,
on your
I did. Divine
yeah,
Cycles. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm excited to try that one. It's
Yeah.
really looks
Let me
really
know how
great
it
and
goes.
so beautiful. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'll post it. I tend to like to try and use the deck as much as I can from the creator who has created the spread because I feel like
Oh,
there's an
cool.
energetic connection there.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
you just
came up.
released oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Oh, yeah, I totally cut you off. I'm so sorry.
No, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I just I'm looking forward to doing this spread and with your deck and exploring that. And I love the idea of cycles because we're moving into this fall cycle, right? So it's
Yeah,
this
yeah, exactly.
sudden change and
Yeah,
everything. That's
totally.
amazing.
Yeah.
No, I was just getting really excited because you just released a beautiful new spread cloth as well,
Oh,
in
yeah.
your store.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I wish I had one around, but I don't. I'm always unprepared, underprepared.
No, no, that's great. This
But
one,
yeah, yeah,
you had one with the Kickstarter that was
I
more of a
did.
lilac color, and this one
Uh-huh.
is more of a, is it a dusty
I
rose?
guess it's like a mauve
Yeah,
color. It's like a little bit more of a
yeah.
pink tone than a
Yeah.
purple tone, but I think one thing is just like it's nice to have companion items like in your shop, because I was feeling like I just have this lonely deck in here, so it's always nice to offer something else. But
Yeah.
I actually took a really long time to develop it because it's difficult to find the quality that I want. like when it comes to materials, I can be kind of picky just because I have a background in design, and I'm sure other people are the same and they don't have a background in design. But you know, I love the first cloth that I put out, but it's sort of like that just standard like bandana cotton woven material, which is like a little bit sheer and it can feel a little
Yeah.
bit coarse. And so I'm gonna get really into explaining
No,
that.
fabric is so important. I 100% get that. And a
Yeah,
fabric nerd, I love it. My friend's
yeah.
a designer, actually. She did this dress that I'm
Oh,
wearing. She's
cool.
out of
I love your
Toronto.
dress. I was looking at
Oh,
it.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's got a company called Birds of North America, and she's out of
amazing.
Toronto now. She started in
Yeah.
Montreal, and it was super exciting because the her prime minister's wife just wore one of her dresses at their
Oh, so
swearing in election, which
cool.
was just like, oh my god, it's
Wow.
so exciting.
Like a
Um,
breakthrough moment.
oh my god, yeah. But I've
Yeah.
been buying her clothes for years, and it's totally ruined me for
Yeah.
anything else because she puts really nice fabrics and cuts, and
Yeah.
it's just
Then you start to
100%
kind
get
of
that.
raise your standards and you're like, I
Yeah.
can't wear anything else. Yeah,
I know, right? It's like,
totally. Yeah.
please tell me all the things about the cloth because I'm so
Yeah.
excited and I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was able to kind of work with a thicker, it's still cotton, but it's a thicker cotton, so it's opaque. You can't really see through it in the same way, but it's a cotton twill and it's just like really soft and has like a kind of a thicker hand feel. Um, so I love it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, the color is gorgeous.
Thanks.
It's absolutely stunning. And then in terms of the print that's on the top, it's in white
Mhm.
ink, right?
It's
Yeah.
white.
So how
Yeah.
did you, is that a similar design to what you had on the last one, or is it something brand new, or what was your approach with that?
Yeah, it's a really similar design. I just like added some extra things.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. There's
Yeah.
some circles and crystals, and I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I was just
Yeah.
looking at it earlier. It's a beautiful design, and I love that you've got the muted tones on it because it really helps the cards pop, and yet it adds a little something. Like I feel like sometimes when it's just a white background, it doesn't do
Hmm.
the cards justice. You know, you need
Yeah.
to be like, oomph to like
Yeah,
really.
totally.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I like to use them for traveling. Like I don't have like a lot of bags for my tarot cards and I don't love to like bring the box because it takes up so much space. So I like
Yeah.
to wrap it in the cloth and travel that way.
Oh, yeah, that's such a great idea. It really
Handy.
keeps it protected. Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah, I started making some of my own tarot bags a little while
Yeah.
ago, just because
Cool.
I can't stand tuck boxes. Like they're all
Yeah.
right. Some are better
Yeah.
than others, but I just
Uh-huh.
feel like I can't open them without like bending the flap thing. Like it, I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
I need to really
totally.
work on that.
I know.
Um,
I
yeah.
totally agree. The tuck box situation.
Oh my God, I love that it's in a hard box because I just like
Yeah.
I want to love them, but I just don't. So I started making some bags
Yeah.
to protect them, right? Because
Yeah.
I didn't want to just leave them lying out, but their text box was causing me so much frustration that I
Yeah.
like, yeah, so it took a
Yeah,
lot of
totally.
experimentation and stuff, but it's time
Hmm.
consuming to sew everything, right? So
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
yeah,
I know. I'm like, I have a background in design and I have not made
yeah,
one tarot bag. It doesn't make
yeah,
any
no, I
sense.
get that. It's like I've
But
got
I just
so much
can't.
fabric, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make all the bags, and then it's been sitting there, and it's just like.
Yeah,
I will get to it and do it. It's
totally.
fun, but
I
it's just
know.
like, it's a
I'm like,
process,
should I
you know?
buy some fabric to do this? And then I'm like, Nikki, be honest with yourself. Like, you're not gonna do it, and the fabric is just gonna sit there. So,
Oh my God, I can vouch for that. I have
yeah,
piles of fabric. There's, oh my gosh, you'd appreciate this.
yeah.
We live in a really small town of like 10,000 people on the border of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia on the Nova Scotia side. And
Uh-huh.
there's a quilt store downtown that's called Mrs. Puggley's Quilt Emporium.
Oh, I love
And
that. This is
it's
funny.
in this big building that looks like it used to be like a civic building
Uh-huh.
or maybe City Hall at one point in time or whatever. So it's this like beautiful building. And they
Yeah,
just took over the first floor and there's like all of the things and it's
yeah,
beautiful and different fabrics.
yeah.
And they're only open, I think, because of COVID right now on like one Friday afternoon a month or something
Uh-huh.
like that. Like it's really funny.
That's incredible.
But I mean, that was part of the things I got really excited about when we moved here because
Yeah,
I was feeling kind of trepidatious about small town life because I've never lived in a
right.
small town before,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
But it allowed us to buy a house and all the rest of it. And I was just
Right.
like, Puggley's, I'm good to go.
Yeah. We're good. We have
Well,
everything we need here.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's all sitting in the cupboard. I mean, I've made probably
Yeah.
about 20 over the course of the past year, but
Yeah.
it's just time consuming, right? Like,
That's a good amount.
yeah.
20 is a good amount. I'm impressed.
They're far from perfect though, and like my inner perfectionist is just like,
You're like, maybe next time. Yeah, I'm sure they're beautiful.
oh gosh. So, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, which is so exciting, you have an Oracle deck in the works right now.
Yeah,
I
I
would
do.
love to hear more about that and what the process was like, and how that
Yeah.
differed from the tarot deck, and or if it was a similar process, or yeah.
Yeah. I started working on it probably at the beginning of like the COVID lockdown, so March of last year. So it's been over a year. I'm probably about halfway. I found the process a little bit not easier than working on the tarot deck. In some
Yeah.
ways easier and in some ways not. In some ways it's just
Mhm.
like this is just like my invention from my, my
Yeah.
spirit and my heart and my brain, right? And in
Yeah.
other ways you don't have the structure that you have with the tarot. So you really have to come up with your own
Yeah.
structure or decide that you just want it to be sort of like free, right? And
Hmm.
I keep trying to put a structure to it, like I could do suits or I could do this or that or whatever. And it's just like not what my spirit wants. It just wants to do this kind of freestyle, whatever. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been, inspired by something or I have a feeling about something. I have, sometimes I'll drop into meditation and I'll ask for, like something for my next card, some inspiration